Let's go. What is up, everybody? Good, mic's on. Yes, fantastic. How we all feeling today? We doing good? Any gooners in chat? Anyone gooning right now? Let's fucking go. I'm in my old man era, so I'm not doing great. My back hurts. Had a headache. Slept on my neck wrong the other day. Things are going for sure. But Um, I this week was my first full week, like proper week, with the company that I just started with. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what I'm doing there. Maybe it'll inspire you to do some stuff on your own side. I managed to do, I think, like 11 or 12 email sequences. Oh, thank you. It is my birthday on the 29th, so Sunday. But also, it's Mackenzie's birthday today, so if you guys want to tag her in Gen Chat and just say happy birthday, then that would be a big W. So I was able to produce 12 email sequences in like 2 days because I'm leveraging Irakli's girlfriend, Claude. And, and I figured out a pretty solid workflow. So to make all of this work, I've got I don't remember what the second tier of Claude plan is, but it's the one that's like $100 something. So you won't be able to get as much output as me, I don't think. Although the underlying stuff, like even if you're not able to get as much volume and you have to wait a little bit for it to reset, I think all the underlying principles are the same because I don't know if there are any differences in the like I think you get I don't remember what it's called. Opus is the more advanced one, maybe. I think you get that on both. And the like everything, all the setup and all the backend stuff, it's all the same. So I'll show you guys what I did, and then you can hopefully copy that for yourselves and make it work for you the same way I made it work for me. So looking at this, and then I'll get to the question. I know I've got a question pending, and I'll get to that afterwards, but looking at this. So this is what I worked on. And if you guys aren't familiar with this app, it's called Whimsical. I used to be a big fan of Funalytics, but I instead now use Whimsical because Funalytics changed their plans and stuff. I actually once spoke to the CEO of Funalytics to potentially do a challenge with him, but then as soon as he saw how much work it was going to be, he was like, because it's very expensive, like to build everything and then also like run ads and all that because you need a ton of creative, you need a ton of copy, you need a lot of everything. But this is what we've got for emails off the back of this very simple call funnel. So what does the call funnel look like? We're sending YouTube organic, we're sending Instagram organic, we're sending Meta paid traffic to the 1K per day asset, which not compliant. So I don't like that. But the asset is how to go from $0 to $1,000. I don't know if it's per month or per day, but 0 to 1,000 something with branded drop shipping. That's the business opportunity. So people can opt in and then they see a VSL and then they get an application and then they're either qualified or disqualified. If they're qualified, they go to the calendar. If they go to the calendar, they can book. And that's the end of the funnel until they show up on a sales call. So very simple, just straightforward call funnel path. So why does Jonathan need this many emails off the back of it? Answer, because they could fall off at any point, right? So what do we do if somebody opts in but they don't apply? What do we do if someone's qualified but they don't book? What do we do if someone books and we want to get them to show up? We want email sequences for each of these contingencies. So to run you guys through this real quick, if they opt in, then right away we're going to send them an email because here they're opting in for that asset, right? So we send them right away this email, we send them right away this SMS, we reach out to them, probably not right away because these people are very low priority. But that first email is like, hey, you're really cool for taking this action. Wait 3 minutes. And then, oh, by the way, here's your link. Wait 7 minutes. Check, did they complete their application? If yes, were they qualified? Wait 3 minutes. If yes to booking, then we send them an SMS and we move them through the rest of the pre-call sequences. If at any point they fall off, so let's say they didn't book, then we send them a no booking sequence. If they did not get qualified, then there's nothing we can do with them anyway, because the reason they would not be qualified is because they told us they don't have enough money. So there's no point trying to push them further. We just put them onto the newsletter. And if they did not complete an application and they just opted in, then we try to get them to go back to complete the application. So most of what you see here, all of these down to here, these are all for somebody who opted in but did not apply. What software do you use to manage these complicated emails and SMS systems? So this one that I'm mapping everything out in is Whimsical, but you can build this in any email service provider. So if you've got HubSpot, if you've got GHL, if you've got ActiveCampaign, if you got Klaviyo, if you've got what's the one that just rebranded? I forget, but there are a lot of email service providers. There's a lot of software that you can use for all this. So Kit, yes, thank you, Yusuf. So no, Whimsical is just to do this mapping. The ones that I was naming are the ones where you would be sending them. The company that I'm with now, they use HubSpot. So we've got people who are coming in. Anyone who comes in is going to receive this. Then off the back of that, did they complete their application? If no, then I've got a combination of click sequences and deadline sequences. So this is something that I learned from Frank Kern, who his strategy here is try to get somebody to indicate interest in doing something. And then once they've indicated interest, push them harder to take the action, right? Because there's no point in me sending, you can see here in a deadline sequence, I've got 1 email, 2 emails, 3 emails, 4 emails, 5 emails. If somebody is not interested at all, then there's no point in me sending them that series of emails, right? Like it's probably negative overall for me, because they would get a bunch of emails that they're not, like, that they don't want. They're not going to open. If they do open, they're probably going to click spam. And so that hurts me. If instead I just send them this and I'm like, hey, do you want my thing? And they say no, then they're only getting 4 emails that aren't super pushy and they can ignore very easily. These ones are a lot more pushy because I'm trying to get them to take an action. So the whole philosophy of these sequences is they're going to get click sequences into deadline sequences. The way that works is if somebody receives click sequence number 1 or gets put into click sequence number 1, we're going to wait 3 hours, send them click sequence email 1. Did they click? If yes, then they go down this path and they get put into deadline sequence 1. If no, then they're going to receive email number 2. Again, if yes on email number 2, did they click? Go into deadline sequence 1. If no, then they receive email 3. So it's the same logic for all of these. If they go through all the way and they don't click, they just get put into the next click sequence. If they go all the way through and they do click, or sorry, if they click and then they go and they complete their application, then we put them into the relevant sequence down here. But if they go through a deadline sequence and don't take action, then we'll just put them into whatever the next click sequence was that they haven't gone into yet. Does that baseline logic make sense? Do I have to learn all of these platforms, or are they similar to each other? They're pretty much all the same. HubSpot's probably the most complex, but if you understand how to do stuff, then you should be okay. And you can always go into Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever, and they'll be able to help you because they have access to all of the documentation. So HubSpot, they have all these help articles on their website, right? And so your Perplexity, for example, would have access to all of those because it's just stuff on the internet. And you could be like, hey, I'm trying to do this inside of this software, and this is what I'm running into as an issue. Can you help me do whatever I'm trying to do? And then Perplexity will be like, okay, cool, here are the steps. And then you can also take screenshots of what you're seeing, upload it, be like, this is my UI, this is what I see, this is where I'm thinking of clicking. And you can get a very, very good walkthrough just by doing that. Is this stuff downloadable? What stuff specifically? Oh, also note for all you guys, I've only got an hour because I'm in the middle of launching all this. So I'm going to have to hop off after just an hour to get back to work. How do you qualify during the call or quiz funnel or something else? It's a form that just says, or it has a bunch of questions. If they answer the questions well, they're qualified. If they answer the questions not well, they're not qualified. All right, so each of these click sequences, we've got 4. Why do you guys think I have 4 click sequences? What do you think I'm doing with these click sequences? Do you have an idea? Why would I put this much effort into it? Remember, the context is somebody opted in, but they did not apply for a call. So what is my objective with the opt-in and these sequences? We will do copy reviews potentially if we have time. We'll see. Different interests, you're on the right track. So not necessarily different interests, but different objections. So if somebody comes in and they opt in and they don't apply, why would they not have applied? And if I can figure that out, and then I can build a sequence around one of those objections, then I can just stack those sequences to try to overcome those objections, right? For example, in my click sequence number 1, someone who comes in, they download a thing that's obviously like how to make money online with e-commerce. They might not have applied for a call because in their mind they're thinking, oh, I've tried other business models. I've done affiliate marketing, I've done copywriting, I've done agencies, I've done whatever. How is this going to be any different? Like, why would I invest my time in trying to get on a call with your team about this? So if I can make all of these emails trying to overcome this first objection, then potentially I can pick up more people who didn't apply, right? So I write each of these 4 emails to overcome this objection, all from different angles, right? So all of these are written differently. It's not all just very direct, like, do you have this objection? And each of these then is trying to drive to a page where I have a VSL, not really like a proper VSL. It's just overcome the one objection and then pitch the program or pitch the call. And the indication of interest, if they clicked to go watch the free training that overcomes that objection, then the deadline sequence that follows is built around that objection, right? Because the person just told me, hey, the reason why I haven't applied for a call is because I've tried other stuff and failed. So now all of these emails are based around the objection. I've tried other stuff and failed. Don't worry, it's okay. Come book your call anyway, right? So that's what we're doing with all of these. And then if they go into click sequence number 2 with the next big objection, I'm not ready or I need to learn more first. Objection number 3, I can figure this out on my own or I don't need help. And then objection number 4, my situation is different. And that kind of breaks out into these 4 objections of I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I'm not tech savvy, I missed the window for ecom, it's over, whatever. And each of those, again, supported by deadline sequence 2, it tackles objection 2, deadline sequence 3, objection 3, and deadline sequence 4, objection 4. So that, if you've read the copywriting cheat code, you know that this is how we're supposed to think about customer journeys, right? It's what is the action where they started? What is the next action that I want them to take? What are the steps that I have to walk them through to get them to take this action after having taken this action? And that always comes down to objections. The reason why I'm not going to do the next thing is because there's something holding me back from doing the next thing. I've indicated interest that I want this thing, obviously, by taking the first action. So what are the objections? And then how do I strategically overcome that, right? Those are just like, that's how you plan your sequences. Those are your click sequences in this case and your deadline sequences. Does all of that make sense? Perfect, cool. To answer some questions, how do you know why they didn't apply from just their website presence? I don't, but I do research and I guess. Assuming you're going to review metrics of these at a later point and adjust the strategy. Yeah, so I'm going to look at the open rates, I'm going to look at the click rates, I'm going to look at what's converting down funnel because I can track all of that. And then the stuff that works best, I'm going to move that to the front. And if there's stuff that's not working at all, I'm going to change that. How much is your client's dropshipping program? This one that I'm pushing here is $10,000 for 6 months. How can we learn a product sales cycle by funnel hacking similar products in the market? What should I look at or try to find out as we're trying to figure out how to sell? Can you tell me exactly what you mean when you say sales cycle? And while you do that, I'm just going to scroll back up to your other question and go through that really quick. Let me find it. Hey, Jonathan, hope you're doing great. I am. So I know that you have to practice a lot to write better copy. There are two parts. First is to keep writing almost freehand, to put ideas on paper. Second part is to keep refining and improving what I've written, improving its flow, coherence, and consistency. My question is, which one should I spend more time on? The first one or the second? Or should there be other goals like producing a quality and assigning the same time accordingly? I'd love to know if you can share something on this part. I personally feel both practices squeeze my mind in a different way. Like for the first one, I'm practicing coming up with more ideas, and for the second, I'm implementing the way that I did it was reading a lot of books, going through a lot of courses, hand copying sales letters a lot, and then just doing like a lot of spec work. So I couldn't tell you what you should do because I feel like everybody's kind of different. But if you were to ask me, how does learning work? I would say you need to acquire the knowledge, you need to see examples of the knowledge, and then you need to apply the knowledge yourself, right? So reading the books or going through the courses, and then reading other people's copy or hand copying in order to see how those things that you're learning are applied. And then afterwards, writing your own spec stuff. So that would be me, what I would do, and what I would suggest if you were just to say like blanket statement, how do you learn copy? However, if you feel like you learn differently, if you feel like there's other stuff that helps you out more, then do that. How did you allocate which objection-based sequence will go to which audience, if you're guessing? It's all the same audience. So it's people who opt in will receive all of these emails. And then these, I just stacked them in order of what I believed to be most common. So to me, this one is probably going to be less common than this one. This one's probably going to be more common than this one. So just guessing. You can see a better example down here, I think it would be. Yeah. So if somebody applies and they don't book, then I know that they're interested, obviously, or else they wouldn't have applied. I mean, maybe they're not, but ideally they would be interested because they've applied, but they didn't book. So what's holding them back from booking? Potentially something came up. So these first three emails, these are kind of like abandoned cart emails. I'll just show you real quick. So these ones, it's just like, yo, go back and book your call. Yo, go back and book your call. Yo, go back and book your call. Right. So these first three, it's really just that. But then once you get into the final four, these are overcoming objections in an order that makes sense. Where here, I need to do more research first before I book my call. Obviously, will come before I need to speak to my wife about this. Obviously, will come before I need to figure out if I can afford it. Obviously, will come before I'm afraid this won't work for me. Right. So sometimes it's just the logic of if I were in that situation, what would I think in what order? And that's that's just how you think about it. And maybe I'm wrong, and I can adjust it and I can do whatever I need to on the back. But that is the research plus my intuition. Actually, I think, hold on, I might need to adjust something real quick. I just need to move these. Hold on, guys. I apologize. Oh, whoops, actually. Uh, there we go. There we go. And then I'm just going to do that for all of these. So please hold. I'm just realizing that there was no delay at the start of the no booking sequence. Oops. And so I need, so I just need to indicate that. And as you can see, there's a lot of time and attention that goes into the way that this is laid out because it needs to be easy to read for everybody who is involved. And clients really appreciate it when you're able to put something like this together because it shows that you obviously know what you're talking about and you've obviously done this before. And when you're working in a really big organization where there are a lot of people touching a lot of things, the more organized you can keep it, the better it'll be for everyone. All right, cool. So that is that. I believe we should be good. So somebody comes in, they complete their application, and they're qualified. They didn't book. And after 3 minutes, they'll receive the abandoned cart. The way you sell a property or yacht is different from selling a toy or perfume. We might have to convince a guy to visit our office so we can sell property to that guy, or we have to set up a webinar. But in case of a toy or perfume, we can do everything online and pretty quickly compared to the first one. How can we figure out what will work for a particular product? Just see what the industry standard is. Like your client should already have a sales process, so you probably wouldn't ever have to worry about that. You can do the same stuff with Miro, probably. Why are you adding wait elements to the sequence? What's the purpose of waiting before initiating the next step? Making it make sense. For example, if somebody completes an application and they're qualified, then it doesn't make sense for me to immediately send them an email that's like, hey, by the way, bro, don't forget to finish your or book your call, because we don't know if they've booked their call yet, right? Whereas if we wait 3 minutes and then we see if they booked, then we can send the appropriate messages and just like sequence all of this correctly. For right now, I have my media buyer, who is my brother, is going to be starting on the 6th of April. I've got video editors. I've got a guy who's in charge of like the brand and stuff, who is probably a video editor as well. I've got a sales manager who has I don't know how many salespeople. I want to say probably 2 or 3 setters, and then maybe 5 or 6 closers. I've got my COO. I've got Mark, who's one of the partners. The COO is also one of the partners, but I haven't been there long enough to know everybody who's there. What does the CEO do? The CEO goes and networks. I don't know if you know Alex Fedotov, but he's, I think, the CEO. Yeah. So, TLDR, that's what we got going on here. Any questions about email strategy or any of this? Do they have a brand established? They type shit for real. They have made multiple millions of dollars. They're currently doing around 500,000 or 600,000 a month, I think, organic, and then about 100,000 per month on paid. So my first objective is to make everything better with paid. This is going off the back of their most recent funnel. And then I'm going to take over driving traffic to that funnel and see if we can make it work. Now, obviously, this isn't a nonprofit organization if they're making millions of dollars. Everyone father react this user. Yes, thank you. All right, so we're good on that. Do we have any questions about this? Do we want to see the copy, or do we want to talk about something else? We do have questions, so we will wait for those questions. We want to see the copy, do we? Which parts of the copy do you want to see? Can you look at my cold email? Sure. How did you plan the end of the sequences, when to actually stop emailing them if they don't engage? The standard that I usually use is typically you'll see in the data that after 4 emails, your stats are going to drop. So I've got 4 emails off the back of this first click sequence, 4 emails on the second click sequence, 4 on the third, 4 on the on the fourth. And then going into these deadline sequences, I've got more than 4 just because of the way that I was thinking about the messaging. So a lot of it also comes down to what is my objective, right? Here we can see that I want to do 4 emails, but then also I want to do a 9-word email, right? So that's why these ones are 5, because I've got my 4 normal emails and then just a 9-word email at the end here, which if you guys aren't familiar, the 9-word email is just, hey, do you still want my thing? And then for these ones, for the no booking sequences, you'll see I've got 3 abandoned cart style emails, which is the standard for abandoned carts. And then I've got 4 longer form. I'll show you. So like we saw, this first one is just like, hey, yo, go back and book your call. The second one, hey, yo, go back and book. Third one, hey, yo, go back and book. And then once we get into the fourth one, longer form. Fifth one, longer form. 6, longer form. 7, longer form. And then with these ones, this one here, the post booking email, is because they can book up to probably 3 or 4 days out. So I want one email right away after they book. That's like, hey, congrats on booking, whatever. And then day 1, day 2, day 3 is the max that they can receive. And then they'll be pulled out of the sequence if the call's coming up within 36 hours. So this one, that's why I have this number of emails. And then here with the pre-call emails, when I was with Dr. Mike, I tested really high volume pre-call emails and it worked really well. So I've got a 24-hour, a potentially 18 hours before the call, and then 12 hours before, 6 hours before, 1 hour before, and 15 minutes before the call. And that's why I have this many here. Does that make sense? Perfect, cool. Can we look at the landing page? There are different landing pages for each of these, but the landing pages are just headline with a video underneath. There's not very much going on. Mayank, which of the emails did you want to see? We can go through one sequence. We get the opt-in sequence, the click sequences, the deadline sequences, no booking sequences, post-booking sequence, and pre-call sequence. Which one is going to be more important to you guys? We got 1 vote for opt-in, 1 vote for abandon, which I assume is the no booking. And no other votes. So there we go. All right, so the opt-in. Here we've got 5 messages, or I guess 2, 4, 6, yeah. 6 messages going out total. The way those are sequenced, they opt in, they'll get email 2, and then they'll get another SMS based on the action that they took. So the first email, this one is we're establishing the identity and we're pre-framing them. So this is called, Joanna Wiebe calls it a what this says about you email. And I always do it just because I learned from copy school. So you send this initial email after an action that someone takes in order to tell them you're really great and to build an identity that's going to be empowering to them. So hopefully they continue to take action. So here we've got contact first name greater than with the preview text. Here's your branded dropshipping blueprint. Most people don't have the balls to chase their dreams, but you do. So making them feel good right away. Reminding them what the action is that they just took. You opted in for the branded dropshipping blueprint. That's the first step to starting a successful online business in the current year. And the fact that you did that tells me a few things about you. You're not satisfied. You want to do something about it. You're looking for a real path, right? So this is what I'm trying to establish as their identity, this part here. You're going to get the exact blueprint I would follow. No guessing, no wasting time, no burning through your savings. So this thing has all the really cool stuff you want. This is everything that I've learned, so a little bit of credibility. Here, credibility. And then, by the way, it's coming in the next email. Why do we want to put it in 2 different emails? Because I want them to read all of this email, thinking that the link is going to be in here, and paying attention to everything here without distracting them by giving them the link as well. So all of this is just really creating that identity and getting them hyped up. And then you'll see in the PS here, we've got, by the way, click here to apply. Because I want to give them a chance to take the next action. Yeah, exactly. The next one is where the value is. So then this one, almost forgot. Here's the link. Yo, here's the link. Read it, apply it. When you do, you'll be the best. PS, if you want, you can click here, and then some screenshots of some compliant testimonials. I'll show you guys what the testimonials look like. So all of these formatted in 16 by 9, so like, and then just highlighting the part that I want them to pay attention to. So they could ignore all of it, but if they just see that highlighted part, overall top quality, can't think of a single critique. If it weren't for my coach, it would have taken me 10 times longer to realize some of the biggest mistakes most people make. I've got nothing but praise for the entire program so far. I joined BBA with no ecom experience. This group had everything necessary to succeed. So you can imagine somebody who's seeing that, they're kind of getting bought into the program, right? And then the SMS, this goes out immediately when they opt in, number 1, where we have, is this contact name to try to get them to reply. And then based on the action that they take, we'll send them the next one. So if they did not complete their application, yo, this is Setter from Ecom Scaling Secrets. Did you get a chance to check out the asset yet? And then they can reply. And then that starts the conversation, right? Or if they applied but they didn't book, yo, this is Setter. Saw you applied but you didn't book. Did you find a different business model you want to pursue instead? Trying to get them to reply. And I'm pretty sure that this one I stole from Jeremy Miner. So credit to him for this. And then 2.3 is if they did book, yo, this is Closer, saw you on my calendar, really excited to talk to you. Any tips for follow-ups? What specifically? Subject line B is blank. Do you guys test with no subject line too? No. Chat. Can we sob react, Mercy? Thank you. Okay, and then we'll look at the abandoned sequence. So this is for someone who qualified but did not book. First ones are really just very basic abandoned carts. Yo, you started your application but you didn't book. Go here to book now. Your application was approved. Here, starting to put in a little bit of urgency. We get 300 plus applications a week. So I don't know how long I'll be able to hold your spot. It's just going to be a quick chat. Hope to see your name pop up. And then the third one, same thing. You haven't booked your call yet. Calendar fills up fast. Only takes 30 seconds. Peace. And then when we get into the longer form ones, here we're starting to think about there we go. So here we're starting to think about the objections. So this first objection, I need to do more research first. If somebody feels like they need to do more research first, they're probably going to Google us, right? They're going to look at Trustpilot, they're going to look at Reddit, they're going to look at whatever comes up. And the best thing that I can do in that scenario is try to push them towards like the good research, if you will. So here, need to do more research before booking. Is BBA a scam? Real reviews directly from Reddit. Found this post on Reddit the other day and thought you might want to check it out. And this is the post. This is the program. Hey everyone, new in the field of dropshipping. I've been watching a lot of Mark Bill's brands on YouTube. He promotes his academy with Alex Fedotov. I signed up for the Zoom call, but I'm getting weird vibes and I feel it's a tad scammy. They're too eager, blah, 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 blah. So this is potentially one of the big objections that's stopping somebody from booking a call. So what do I want to do? I want to overcome that objection by saying, yo, this objection exists. Here I'm framing it as, I know our program's legit, but I was still worried what people were going to say. But when I started going through the comments, then we can see here, I love Mark and Alex in the program. The course and mentorship is honestly a 10 out of 10. Once I got inside, I realized I knew way less. They teach you all this really cool stuff. It's been worth it, and I'm genuinely happy that I joined. So all of those very positive comments to overcome that objection of, is it a scam, or potentially I need to do more research first. And the next one, we're moving on to, I'm afraid this won't work for me because I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I'm not tech savvy, I missed the window. And you can see these are the same objections that we saw earlier. So this is very similar to one of the earlier emails as well. I just changed the way it's worded a little bit. What if it doesn't work for me? Subject line, preview text, your situation is different, but remember this. And then just calling out in bold, is it because you don't think you have enough time? Actually, you do. Is this because you think you don't have enough money? Actually, you do. Is this because you're not tech savvy? Actually, you are. Do you think ecom is too saturated? Actually, it's not. Click here to book a call. And then also testimonials down here. And then going into number 6, here the objection is, how much does it cost? Or can I afford it? So directly calling that out in the subject line, because we want the people who have these objections to be the ones opening the emails, right? We don't want to do curiosity. That's a cop-out, right? If you guys ever tell me I wrote the subject line for curiosity, I'm going to be so upset with you, because your subject line should call out the person you want. It can be curiosity, right? But it needs to call out the person you want to be reading the email, because the body of your email should be designed in a way to get the people who opened it to take the action. So think about your one reader, write your subject line for them, write your body for them. Here, for people who are thinking, can I actually afford it? Subject line, price to join BBA, question mark. Can you afford to join the program? If you're sitting there trying to figure out whether or not you can afford this, let me flip that question on you. Can you afford not to do it? At what point does all of this suck too much. And then CTA. So each of these emails, exactly the same structure, right? It's just very directly addressing the objection, making them feel bad for having the objection in this case, like, because here, whenever you're overcoming a, like, I'll wait kind of objection, it's like, well, if you wait, nothing's going to change, right? So that's what this one is doing. It's just making you feel bad that you're thinking about waiting instead of taking action right now. And then email 7, but I see a question from Mercy. When should you write salutations like, hey, John? I don't think I saw in any of the emails. That is a very good call out. So I'm actually going to give Mercy props for this one. I'm going to Chad react him. But sorry, just to answer another question. Who's the audience, by the way? Someone who has 10K saved up. They would need at least probably like $4,000 or $5,000 saved up for it to make sense for them. But yes, the question is, when should you write salutations like, hey, John? To me, never. Why? Because it's a wasted line. What value do you add by saying, hey, John? Literally nothing. You're not persuading me in any way whatsoever. So whenever I critique emails, that's one of the first things I call out. That's the thing that pisses off John number 3354 is opening with, hey, whatever, because you can see there are much more tactical ways to do it. Mercy, if you're holding off on booking your BBA call because you want to run it by your spouse first, that's completely fair. Versus, hey, Mercy, if you're holding off on booking your BBA call, like, first line, very important, make it count. So you can do that and have the name, because some people will argue if people see their name, they're more likely to do whatever. And like, yes, and you can do both, right? You can have your name and you can have a good line of copy. If you didn't reveal the price in this email, that's bad for the reader. They might get pissed off. Maybe, but I don't care. All right, so this one, email number 7, is the spouse objection. So calling that out, again in the subject line, you should talk to your spouse. Don't join BBA until you have this convo. You'll notice that we're validating the objection, right? We're not saying, hey, you should not talk to your spouse. Feel bad for not talking to your spouse. Like we did in the last one here, where we're like, you should feel bad that you're not going to take action. And I believe that for the most part, like making people feel bad is not good. But in some cases it is good because you can use that negative feeling as motivation. So here, same job, same income, same feeling of knowing that you're capable of more, but not doing anything about it. Yes, I'm making you feel bad for not taking action, but if you don't take action, literally nothing's going to change. Why would you opt into this in the first place? Because you. So it's okay for me to, in this case, use shame to try to motivate you to go do the next action, right? And I genuinely believe in this program. I know that they get good results, so I'm okay using shame and guilt, and shame and guilt are just as good as anything else. Layla, would you mind muting yourself, please? Because I hear a little bit of my echo. Thank you. And then going to number 7, here's the spouse objection. So you're not trying to make somebody feel bad about needing to talk to their spouse. Like, that's not going to accomplish anything, right? Like, if Yusuf is talking to his wife about joining BBA, or Yusuf needs to talk to his wife before he joins BBA because they're married, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. If he wouldn't, saying to Yusuf, hey, you're a little punk ass bitch if you need your wife's approval, no worries. Then, oh, some salespeople try to do that. I think that is the stupidest thing to do in the world. I think it's so awful and so manipulative to try to get somebody to do something without their wife or their husband knowing about it or approving of it. Because literally you share your lives, right? Like $10,000 is a big deal. You should not be doing that without talking to your spouse first. So shame and guilt, not a good tactic here. Here, instead, we want to validate it and make it seem like they should have that conversation, but they should talk to us first. So in this case, if you're not booking this because you want to talk to your spouse first, that's good. But what are you going to say? You should come onto the call with your questions, get your answers, and then you can have that conversation. Right? So here, empowering and saying, before you do that, though, take the action that I want you to take. Does that make sense? I love Yusuf. I would sacrifice my life for Yusuf. Cool. Do you guys want to do one more sequence? Yes? Okay. Which one? You guys get to pick. I see a lot of casual language like biz people because yes, I use this specifically because this is his brand voice. So it took me like a day to get used to it. But now I can write pretty well as him. Can we see the VSL scripts? I don't have VSL scripts. I just wrote an outline for them, and I haven't gotten the videos back yet. Post booking. Yeah, this was the abandoned one that we were looking at. So post booking, this one is for if somebody books, the time between when they booked and then 36 hours 36 hours before they get onto the call. So if they book a really long ways out, they might get all 4 of these emails. If they book for tomorrow, they would only get the first one. So the idea here is, let me find it. The idea here is really just overcoming whatever objections they might have to push them to get onto the call. This first one, what this says about you, plus logistics, plus the pre-call video, I'm just trying to do a lot in this first email because it might be the only one they get. But then here, objection, I did my research and I found negative reviews. Here, someone talked me out of it. Here, I'm afraid this won't work for me. So again, this is like the same one that we've seen a few times. But if we look at each of the emails individually, this first one, it's not super what this says about you like we saw in the last example. This one's really just like very bare minimum, like, hey, you're cool for doing this action. And then we've got here the logistic information. And then please watch this video and reply yes to let me know that you did. So that's just like a pre-call video. Essentially what you do is, hey, really cool. It's like a what this says about you and what to expect kind of in a video. And then they're going to get this SMS, which is just automated confirmation. And then email 2, here we're overcoming the I found negative reviews. So what students are saying about BBA, here are reviews from people who've gone through the program. Figured you're the type of person who wants to do their research before committing to a program like BBA, so validating them, telling them, hey, you're so smart. Here are some reviews, putting the Trustpilot screenshots, and then a little bit of credibility for the program. We're one of the longest running. Our coaches are people who are actually making money. Hundreds of students will vouch for how great their experience was. Excited to see how your call goes with the closer. And then number 2, here, somebody talked me out of it. You really sure you want to do this, Jonathan? If someone's doubting your decision, read this. You see again with a call out. Did you tell anybody about your call? Friend, family, spouse? Maybe they hit you with one of these, which sucks. But, and here again, we're using kind of negative emotions in this one. This might make me sound like a dick, but is that person making the money you want to make? Are they operating a successful online business? Do they have the life you want, or are they just comfortable? Maybe they're scared that you doing this is going to make them feel bad because they're mediocre. It sucks, but you can't let their complacency ruin your chances. So I hope to see you inside the program soon. And then this last one, going back to the I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I'm not tech savvy, and ecom is saturated. So that's what we got going on. Yes, people, Dan Kennedy said that the sale, something like this, the sale doesn't stop when you sell somebody, right? You just need to keep reselling them over and over again on the action they just took and also on the next action that you want them to take. So even if somebody booked a call, they're not necessarily going to show up. Most of the times they won't, right? Like most of the time, your show rate is going to be somewhere between probably 40 and 60%, sometimes lower than 40, which sucks and it does happen. But if everything is locked in, you can expect around half or a little bit more than half of people from paid traffic to show up. You could get up to 60, 70 on organic. You could be closer to 80 or 90% show rate, which like organic is people who've been following you for a long time, so it makes sense. But do as much as you can to make sure that the people show up. I've been having a lot of reflection and I'm starting to believe that clear beats fancy 100%. You can be clear and direct. You don't have to Gary Halbert to sell through words. I missed the start of this. No, this is a different thing. So this is not the Women in Tech community. This is for an ecom biz op offer. What was the full form? BBA is Brand Builders Academy. Yes, Brazilian butt acupuncture. Yeah, I did get this client through my network. My buddy Marius, who's a media buyer, he hooks me up with clients all the time. Oh, sorry, I might have missed that question. Let me go back up. No, I did answer that one, and I guess you just weren't paying attention when I did. So, RIP. You can go back and watch the recording. Yeah, Brand Builders Academy. All right, let's look at this real quick. I'm writing this email to fraud protection SaaS companies with 9 to 50 employees. That is extremely specific. There are almost 30 companies on my list, and most of them have pretty average landing pages. I know this because I broke them down. I ran their websites through SimilarWeb. Page performance is bad. On top of that, I did 3 weeks of research into the target market, found what customers look for. In short, I tried to create some sort of package to help these companies write better landing pages. The game plan is to hint at the problem they're having and then give them a short video. In the first 3 minutes, I'll explain why they're losing leads and what customers actually look like or look for. And then I'll explain how much research can help them, or how my research can help them rewrite their pages. I'm encountering a few problems. I have no experience, but I'm into copywriting for 3 years, constantly working, but because I never had an actual copywriting job, I can't lie. Even after searching, I don't know if these landing pages and ads are any concern to SaaS owners, and that's why there's no way to know if they respond to my email or not. So with SaaS, this is for everybody, for your knowledge. With SaaS, the 2 most important assets for them are going to be landing pages and emails. So if you're trying to sell SaaS, or if you're trying to sell SaaS owners or marketing teams or whatever, your copywriting services, talk about landing pages and or talk about emails, because those are the things that they believe are going to move the needle most for them in terms of revenue. Julia, after watching Linkurious website losing leads. This is confusing and not good English also, so I would revisit that. I think this is cute. Julia, if I were you, I might get angry as well. So I think the biggest problem is it's very obvious that English is not your first language, just from these first lines. And if I were trying to hire somebody to write my copy for me, I don't know if I would want to hire somebody who immediately I can tell that I would have to rewrite what they write. No, not LinkedIn ads. Probably not. I might get angry as well, both at why Linkurious is losing leads and why this guy, I mean me, is stalking your website. Probably more angry at the first one. Let me explain both. I appreciate that you're trying to be funny, but to me, just because it's not written in super good English, it's more confusing than anything, and it's hard to understand. My name is Copy Mockingjay, and I am an engineer turned marketer. I've been writing landing pages and other marketing material for the past 3 years. Before I send anyone a freezing cold email, I do 2 things. First, I do customer research. Second, I stalk, qualify, and reach out to companies who can take advantage of that week-long research. And that's how I found you. During the second step, I used a very special software called SimilarWeb to get Linkurious. If they're a marketer or a SaaS person, they definitely know what this is, and so they wouldn't think it's a special software. And I discovered this. This is a good proof point. I like that you're doing this here. There are lots of potential customers visiting your website to explain everything in detail, including what the issue is. I recorded a 5-minute video. Okay, so I think this is the most powerful part of the email, and I would lead with this. What should people with bad English do? Get better at English, like just practice. Like Nandan, for example, when he types, there are some things sometimes where I'm like, that is very Indian to say, but most of the time you can't tell that Nandan is not like an American. Or Yusuf, I would say, writes worse than Nandan does, and Yusuf has lived in the U.S. and the U.K. So. Yeah. So this, in my opinion, is the most powerful part of the email, like the pain. Can you not like go in and ruin everything? I don't share these things so that you guys can go into my funnels and give me bad data. MF, you already did it, Mercy. Like, even if you delete it, you still went through the funnel. Can everyone bother react to Mercy again? And then maybe I just don't share any of the brands I'm working with anymore because I know that he's going to go goon to it. Anyway, going back to this. This is, like, this pain is the most powerful part of the email, in my opinion. So if my argument is, hey, your stuff sucks right now, look at how badly it sucks, then first of all, I would want to actually compare these metrics, right? Like go and look, is a 40% bounce rate actually bad? Because me, Jonathan, looking at this, to me that seems good, right? Like I know what a bounce rate is, and 60% of people staying on my page and then going to somewhere else on my website, that's good to me. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that to me doesn't seem like a bad thing. You would have to explain to me why it's bad and then lead with that pain. And then from there be like, here's who I am and here's how I can fix this. So essentially all of this kind of useless. This is the important part. And then offering yourself as the solution and keeping the email a little bit shorter. That would be my feedback. Any questions? No, my email sequences aren't live. They're being set up right now. I got you. All right. So the hour is up, my friends. I got to get back to work to finalize this launch because it's my first big project and I want to do well and I want people to. There are certain things. So for anybody who's not from US, UK, Canada, Australia, the thing that gives it away the most, and you'll see some of this in Gen Chat if you pay attention. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because you don't interact with other native English speakers every day and you only interact with people on the internet, you talk normally the way people on the internet talk. And a lot of times that's ironic, right? So, for example, Sarveshwar, he's immediately you can peg him as Indian because of the way he talks, right? Like you see him talk and you're like, this guy thinks that this is how English speaking people speak because he sees it on the internet. So, so internet language is the biggest giveaway in a casual context like this. But then in a more serious context, it's usually just more syntax than anything else. Or sometimes because Indian English is based off of UK English, there are some things that Indian people say that it's like, oh, this is just like the UK way to say it, but you're obviously not from the UK, therefore you must be Indian. Like, for example, one thing that they do when they write in the UK, or I don't know if they do this when they speak, Yusuf can tell me. In the UK, they will, let me try to figure out how to say this properly. um, for when you have an acronym, right? Like, I'm trying to think of one that starts with a vowel sound. Okay, HOA, right? HOA, the letters HOA. Before you say HOA, you would have to say a HOA or an HOA, right? You would say an HOA because the first sound of H is a vowel sound, right? So you would connect it with an HOA. But the way that you do a or an in the US versus in the UK English is going to be different sometimes. So immediately you can recognize and you're like, it's weird. Why would they be saying this? Right? Like that's not how you say it. I only recently learned that it's because in the UK they do it differently than we do it in America. And so if I see somebody that I'm like, oh, this person's clearly not British, then they must be Indian because they're doing these certain things that are the UK English way to do it. as opposed to the American English way to do it. Color and color as well, yeah. Well, in Canada, we use the British spelling, but we use we use US structures. So it's a little bit strange. No, I'm not talking about Indian accents, obviously. If you hear an Indian accent, it's obvious that it's an Indian accent. Yeah, sometimes. So the big ones are like using the internet speak, the way that's you can see in GenChat. Sometimes it's the UK versus the US English, and just the way that you guys write with the UK English versus the way that I would write, for example, with the US English. And then there are other things like what's one that's like an immediate Indian giveaway? I saw it the other day. Um, hold on, let me just go do a search in GenChat. Hmm. This is going to take me forever. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So Krishna, who joined the server like 2 or 3 days ago, he said something, and I was like, "That's so Indian." Hey Mayank, don't you think there are very less copywriting freelancers? And that's a sentence structure that you see a lot of time from Indians. Like very less is just something that I've pegged as this is a very Indian thing to say. All right, now that I'm done ranting about Indian English, are we all good for today, or do we have any final questions? All good? Perfect. Does office hours? Yes, office hours happens every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I believe that now daylight savings has gone by for everybody. So this will be the same time for the next 6 months until we change the clocks again. If you want, on the left side where the channels are in Discord, just scroll all the way to the top and there's the events. And then if you click on interested, you'll see, well, it'll let you know when we go live, but also you'll be able to see on there what the time is in your time zone. So for me, it says 1 p.m., but then if I were in like Chicago, which is 1 hour behind me, it would say 12 p.m. Or if I was on the west coast of the US, it would be -2 from that. So it would say 10 p.m. or sorry, 10 a.m. And excuse me, Discord just does that automatically. What do you think, guys? Should we ban Mercy? Yes. If I get, oh, he wants to go to Mariam jail. No, I'm not going to do that. Mariam was, she was timed out for a week. So I actually kicked her out. And then in my mind, I kicked her. And I'm like, maybe she'll realize that I just kicked her and I did not ban her. And she'll rejoin the server and she'll just be quiet and not draw attention to herself because I don't want to take away all the resources from her, right? So in my mind, I was like, ideal scenario, I kick her, everyone's happy because I got rid of Mariam, sorry. She comes back, she stays, and she stays quiet. As soon as she joins again, she drops like this massive post in Gen Chat where she's like, "What the fuck is up, everybody? I found out that I wasn't actually banned and I found an old link and I'm back, motherfuckers," right? Like something stupid like that. So right away, then I feel stupid because she does that and announces to everybody, "Oh, John didn't actually ban her," which everybody wants me to ban her anyway. So that's an L on me. And then she just continues to be abrasive and do what she was doing anyway. So I told her, "Please stop." And then she was like, "I didn't do anything wrong." And I'm like, "Please take feedback." And she's like, "No." So I just put her in timeout for 7 days. We'll see. No, she didn't DM me. I also told her don't DM me. All right. I wish you guys a fantastic day. Thank you very much for coming. I'm sorry that this one had to be so short. Next week, we should be able to do better. I also think that next week I've got meetings now, potentially, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from noon to 1. So I might just be on office hours at like exactly the right time, or maybe a little bit late. I'm not sure. If I am late, I apologize, but we'll just have to see how all that plays out. Maybe I'll push office hours 15 minutes later if I see that it becomes an issue. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you next Friday. Thank you, Mayank. It is my birthday on Sunday, so if you guys want to drop me a happy birthday message in Gen Chat, then I will reply to all of you one by one and tell you what my favorite memory is with you. How about that? John's health is good. Actually, I posted in Gen Chat my results from the ultrasound and said like extremely damaged or whatever. That was just an epic prank. I All of the results were fine. I just asked ChatGPT to change the words to make all you guys freak out. So, W. But I got to go for real. So, I I'll see all of you guys next week.